Hi, I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We are AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we are watching Steins Gate, Season 1, Episode 7. Last episode, awesome. We have a fifth member now to our team, that being Moeka. I'm wondering how long it's going to take for Suzuha to join too, even with, the fact that she's probably from a different world line. But, just wondering.
And is she even going to want to join if she... Is there like a rule that you can't hate another member of the lab to join?
They need like trust fall activities.
They need rules.
Definitely.
And I think that not wanting to murder might be an important rule to have. Don't murder your other lab members.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where the story's going. I love the pacing. I love the dialogue. I loved the dream sequence last episode that Kiyoma had before he woke up, It was, the music was great. It was kind of delved into something we haven't really seen in this show yet. It was like more mystical feeling. It was nice. Loving the show though. I'm excited to keep going. You ready?
Yeah, I'm loving being confused.
Sweet. I love timestamps. That's fair.
You ripped the door off. 1.03 is done.
Whoa.
Okay.
It's infectious.
You're in the clear.
That little girl looked just like Suzuha. They sent Tutoru. Tutoru, right?
Yeah.
Such a good song.
I know. I almost feel like I'm about to play a video game. RPG video game.
Divergence, Singularity. No!
Suzuha will be able to hear everything.
She's dangerous. I'm in. That would be nice. What?
Kiyoma's voice actor is so good. The shower.
Will the numbers enough be clear enough direction?
2億とか。1等はさすがに目立ちすぎる。俺は期間に追われてる身だからな。
ビビったな。
2等は
2300万円。
3等
70。
金ね。
それがタイムパラドッ
で、
クスを心
これが
配していたやつの
ウーパクッション。疲れた時とか元気がない時にむぎゅー。
Oh.
こっちが冷蔵庫。今日の中身。
Moika might be my
What's
favorite.
inside today? Oh.
Oh.
I like the reflection in the TV.
ああ、初仕事だね。
Is she in charge of the phones and text messages since she's so good at it?
お前こそいちいち水を差すな。
楽しそうだったから。
ツンデレである。
誰がツンデレだ。
大きい季節、ツンデレの意味がわかる？
Dar's playing 5D chess, bro.
じゃあレンジ起動させるぜよ。
何を弱気になってんだ。うっさいカンガルー。何分ぐらいここに立ってた？
ああ、30秒くらいかな。さっきまで D メールで過去を変える実験の話をしてたじゃない。急に電話レンジちゃんのところに来て、はあはあって言い出して。
今のはあはあってとこ。
やめなさい、変態。
はい。
本当に大丈夫？
金はロト6だ。セレセブ、俺は3等当てたのか。
セレセブ言うな。
Cell 7.
だから今どんな内容のメールがいいかみんなで話してたんじゃない。私がウーパクッションを持ってる
覚えてないのか。
あ、ルカ君いらっしゃい。京馬さん、すみませんでした。ルカ君
021218。
ああ、オカリンは予知能力者だね。
でルカシ、ロト6当てたん？
まさか電話レンジで。
毒ペがないではないか。
なかったものはなかったんだから仕方ないでしょ。
俺は確かに D メールを送ったはずだ。書き換えられたということか。あいつらは実験のことを覚えていなかった。俺だけが。
Isolating.
あの時と一緒だ。
どうした？洗脳されたような顔してる。
そうかもしれない。洗脳されたのは俺の方かあいつらの方。なんだ。
She takes brainwashing seriously.
Yeah.
Oh my god, she looks so worried.
チップ入ってない。
No chip.
ね、聞こえてくるって言ったでしょ。
もしかしてお前タイムマシンの話も。
うん、やるね。だったらさ、ジョン・タイターに聞いてみたら。
そういえばタイターは言っていた。過去へ行き、そこ
You
で
have
過
his
去を
email.
変えるとダイバージェンスと呼ばれる数値が変動し、変化が生じる以前の世界線での記憶は消去され、新たな世界線での記憶が再構築されると。
Jesus.
ルカ子がロト6を買わなかった世界線から買った世界線へと移動した。世界線が変わる。
Holy shit, that's cool.
実験そのものがなかった世界なのだ。ではなぜ俺にだけその記憶があるんだ。
応援してるからね。
おお。
I actually believe it. I mean,
Yeah.
that concern about him being brainwashed looks so real.
Oh my god.
待ってくれ。俺は何も。うるせえ。きりでおめえみてえな野郎が欲望を抑えきれるわけがねえだろ。どういう目で人のことを。今の今まで鈴葉もここにいたのだ。何？本当か？
Don't throw her under the bus.
だからサボってたって言っちゃダメだよ。
サボってやがったな。42型もつけ。
No! Screen burn.
今日の実験は中止だ。みんな解散してくれ。で、そこの助手、お前は帰らないのか？
It's interesting that like he's learning to shorten his own language, and I feel like that's from the texting and having to shorten text talk, you know?
恋する乙女が好きな相手からのメールを待ってるみたい。メールの相手誰なの？
Himself?
ジョン・タイターだ。
え？ John Titor.
My God. Third time's the charm.
誰？
実はさ、とんでもないミスに気づいたんだ。実はさ、ラボに財布忘れてきたわ。
何？
おかげでメイクインに入れないよ。
No!
なんだマユリか。
Music.
マユシーのウーパーをむぎゅってしてもいいからね。
That's what it's for.
His tone always changes so much when
Right.
it's Mary.
What do we need to make Ruka a lab member?
岡部にやけてる。
Okay.
メールを読みました。あなたの推測通り、過去を変え、あなたに過去改変前の記憶が存在しているということです。私がいた2036年においても想定されていなかった事象です。あなたは今回過去を改変し、世界線を移動させました。その変動を観測できる人間など今までに確認されたことはありません。ですが、あなたにはその力がある。
Weird that we saw Moeka there.
But yeah, why are we seeing Moeka overlapped?
あなたならば世界を導くことができるかもしれません。ダイバージェンス 1% の向こう側へ。
Love the framing there.
Whoa.
その壁を越えなければ未来はディストピアとなる。そしてその力を持っているのはあなたかもしれない。
岡部どうしたの？
何を
He's scared.
言ってるんだこいつは。
救世主になってほしい。
Episode over. What a statement to end the episode on.
Okay, that was Steins Gate, Season 1, Episode 7. I could watch this show like a movie. I don't know how long
No,
it
I
is.
would, honestly, if I was going to rewatch the show, I would want to watch it
Just
in
binge
one
it.
sitting.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that because we, like, obviously record our reactions and then discuss it, I think that that leads to, like, half the time a better understanding of a lot of things going on.
But do I need a better understanding?
In my experience so far with the channel, I feel like the better of an understanding I have on the story and all the nitty-gritty details that can be confusing, the more I end up enjoying and appreciating everything that went into making it.
Yeah, I feel that too, but there's something that I find really intriguing about the idea of viewing the viewing experience of this show in particular, that I almost feel like maybe the way that it's so cinematic, the way that it, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like it definitely makes you want to be immersed and confused a little bit and kind of like, whoa, what? And like all these different words are coming at you. There's this drama to it.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like it would almost lend itself to having the viewer be in somewhat of a state of trying to climb out of confusion.
Yeah.
And as you're trying to climb out, you're hearing new things and new ideas and new words. So you can never actually truly get out and realize what's happening. And I almost feel like that would be a really intriguing viewing experience for this.
They are so deliberate with every aspect. Like they're making me feel a certain way, and they know they're doing it. Like with like every little, like at the end there, right? When they're fading in the music gradually as like the intensity's building up, or when we're getting like the Mayuri moments with Kiyoma, and Mayuri's like just talking, and Kiyoma's interaction with her and expression because of her is so much different than everybody else's, and the song that plays with her, like everything's so well crafted.
There's something, okay, so this show,
I'm loving every show we're watching right now.
Yeah, the scene is very plain. It is just a moderately empty upstairs apartment to a store, mainly. That's where the scene takes place. It's a very, the show's very desaturated in color, but what gets me is that there's a very thoughtful composition to the shots of such a mundane kind of life and scene, and characters in not flashy outfits like lab coats and a t-shirt or a dress. Nothing is flashy, even though there's a lot of drama in terms of like the characters and their personalities, but the composition that is in place for kind of framing such a mundane set and such a real set, I find very thoughtful. Like, there was this one shot in this episode that I was in love with, and I think that the use of light and reflection
especially,
and like, this show has already had some really great compositions of like having a character all the way to the side of a frame that I found really interesting choice, instead of just kind of putting the face center, where you would think instinctively that it would be. But there was something about kind of choosing to put them all the way to the right or all the way to the left. But the shot that I really liked in this episode, so Kurisu's on the couch and Okabe is sitting on the floor.
Towards the end when the phone interactions are happening.
And he's doing the phone interactions, but the light has almost created this box around him and then extending out a little bit towards Kurisu, and then everything else is dark. And there was just something about the use of light there in almost framing him that I found so thoughtful, and I was just really in love with that composition and that shot. And he's just kind of sitting on the floor, and it's kind of an above shot. If you know it, you know it. I don't know how easy it would be to find it.
Yeah. I'm not having too much luck in the finding it front.
Oh, I see it. It's all tiny.
Yeah, okay, here.
Okay, yes. I just love this shot. Especially because she's sitting directly behind him, but more into the darkness, and I said isolating as a word in the show, and there's something really interesting of isolation with this shot, because there is someone in the room with him, and yet he's the one in the square in the light.
Yeah.
And that she, though behind him and almost in support with him, like, I am a teammate of yours, she isn't in the light. She isn't a part of this. He's alone in this.
Yeah. I like that, because I definitely can, like, the alone, like, it's happening to him right now, right? He is the person that's able to retain the memory. Mm-hmm. But so since we're talking about this scene, I want to, share my thoughts as well. Earlier in the episode, we got a bit of a Suzuha reaction.
I adored that.
Adored it as well. Through that, and the entire idea of a brainwashing and chip. First of all, like, my joking, like, brain is like, oh, she's like the perfect match for Kiyoma, 'cause she also believes in this organization and is over dramatic and theatric. But based off of our previous discussions and, like, talking about, we think that she is from the future, or at least has some, like, understanding, or, there's more in depth of her as a character. And through her whole, like, oh my god, brainwashing, let me check, okay, there's no chip, like, we were like, okay, we're definitely standing behind Suzuha and thinking that she is actually on the side, like she said, of Kiyoma.
When she said that, when we first met her, if she had said that to him, and I think she might have said something kind of similar in one of their original interactions, I was still very suspicious of her. But then once we saw that scene by the vending machines with the helicopter overhead, I was like, there is something about her that I almost feel for her. I feel sorry for her.
Yeah.
Like, she's so on edge. And what dystopia does she possibly come from if she's from the future, that she would be so worried about all of these things and so ready to kill to stop it.
Yeah.
And when she was, squatted over Okabe to look inside his eyes, the look of concern on her face and then how it relaxed when she realized there was nothing there, I was like, okay, I'm 100% believing her when she says that she's on his side.
I 100% believe her that she's on his side. That being said, 10% of me is still like, she's just another role player in this world and she's not actually from the future. Like, and is just like a character in of itself. But the other, like back on the train of it, right? Back on the train of it though, to continue and make my point, to connect it back to the scene you were talking about, because of that trust and because of what Suzuha had said previously about Kurisu, right? About Chris. This scene,
7. Celeb 7.
Yeah, this scene isn't just, Kiyoma talking on the phone with her behind him and them being teammates. What I almost like felt was, he's in the light, she's in the dark, but he is in an extremely vulnerable position, in accordance to Kurisu. And based off of what we've learned from Suzuha, and the fact that he is currently messaging none other than John Titor, like himself, right? It adds this layer of like suspicion and tenseness, and like, has Kurisu already made a move that has derived, or that is walking her down the path of being an antagonist to someone like Kiyoma, or doing something that Kiyoma disagrees with, Like, is this a showing of their separation right now? Like, it feels like, it felt so, he's so vulnerable to her and trusts her so much, and I do too, but I'm wary.
At minimum, this scene shows that they are lab members together, but they are separate. That there is somewhat of a division or a wall, and it could be as clear as he's the only one with the memories, but it could be more than that. It could be that he's supposed to, going with the word from the end of the episode, the Messiah, and we are getting this idea that could possibly in some world line be an antagonist that Suzuha would be wary of. And so that would put them in very separate ends of the spectrum in terms of like how they would impact the world and other people. It's
so interesting because without Suzuha's commentary or impression, I would not at all feel like weird or suspicious about Kurisu.
Or curious, really. I don't think I would have much curiosity.
I would in terms of her past and her father.
Possibly, maybe just about that, but I don't know about what she's currently thinking. I'd just be like, she's a scientist, but she's not really offering much. And now I'm more almost suspicious of the fact that she doesn't talk science a lot. Like, I don't know. I almost expect that maybe she should be speaking a little bit more, to have a little bit more dialogue in terms of like conversing with Okabe and like...
I feel, they're operating on so many uncertainties and unknowns that I feel like it would be, like, if she is a scientist, it would be overstepping, like she's, like, that's beyond her pay grade. She's still gathering information to try to figure out, like, to make an assessment, right? Mm-hmm. To make a hypothesis, and follow that. I'm interested to see where, if we believe Suzuha, I'm interested to see where that division would be,
yeah, because
what were your thoughts on Suzuha?
My thoughts on Suzuha?
Yeah, when I was talking about her and you
you said the word role playing,
yeah,
and I really liked that because I had said during the opening to the show that it reminds me of an intro to a role playing like video game, like RPG Rune Factory or something, the song, and then how kind of the animation, the creative side of the opening, all of it lends to feeling like I've just opened my 3DS and I'm seeing a little opening to an RPG that I'm about to play.
Yeah, and like so the intro scene, then it's like start.
Yeah. So I just really liked when you said the word role-playing. That's about it.
What do you think of any potential suspicion on Suzuha, like in the reverse way, like that she isn't actually from the future? Do you think that there's anything? Can we confidently say that she is from the future or has knowledge of the future?
No.
I feel like most of me can confidently say that.
I would say I feel confident, but I don't think I necessarily have enough evidence to be that as confident as I am. Because when you brought up role playing and dramatics, you definitely start to paint this picture of like, okay, so that means that we truly don't know who in the show just has a big personality and big facade that they put up or a character that they've created, and who is actually, like, what part of that is real. Like, Okabe, we follow him. He's our main character. We can tell by the little tiny facial expressions he's making, or how his voice actor kind of changes his voice, whether the thing that he's saying is a dramatic or a truth, and kind of his honest self. And we don't have as much time with Suzuha, but I don't know if I have enough evidence to be like, she is definitely from the future. It's possible that she could be somewhat of a role player. It's possible that she could be a role player that has knowledge about this sort of thing, because she did have a mentor person that taught her about time travel that she told Okabe about a couple episodes ago. And it could be that she just knows of the possibility of dystopia.
It just, like, wouldn't fit in with her, but unless it's just more to her character, the idea of, like, corn. I don't know, like, I've never had that, you know? Like, Kiyoma existing in this world and him having the personality that he does, and the whole idea of the organization makes me, like, suspicious of everybody. Like,
do you know, it is possible that a character would make up that they don't know something, or say that they don't know something to seem unassuming.
Yeah.
You know, to seem not suspicious, to seem innocent. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, this silly, not very bright person doesn't even know about blank, something so normal. So I feel confident.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's all just feeling, and not necessarily like I could write a whole paper about it if I really, like, broke it down. But at the moment, I think it's just my want, my desire, and my feelings. So
the power that Kiyoma has right now is extremely dangerous. And, like, I know that it seems like, based on the information, if we can trust it, the world's going to go into a turn into a dystopia, not a great place. We're being told that we could have the ability to change that and save it, right?
Yes.
That is a massive amount of power to have. Like you are, whether you're right or wrong, you are letting one person make the decision of how history going forward is going to play out.
Which is very kind of wow to end the episode off of that. I wrote a lot on the side here of kind of, like, the trajectory that the episode takes, and that kind of totally fits into, like, that ending of that. I had immediately written down that the opening to this episode was really grand and dramatic, of him being, like, about to open the door to the microwave.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of build up to it. And then we get into this, oh, okay, well, what can we do to test this? So let's do the lottery, but the number's too big and too grand. And we start to realize that Kiyoma Okabe, while grand, he's also scared. And there's this dynamic between this facade and this deep down, and the big words and ideas he uses to the actual application into reality and talk into action, that he then getting this kind of ending line of, here's this really big word, this word that carries a lot of weight, and this job that would carry a lot of weight, this power that he has that carries a lot of weight, and he was too scared to even, you know, send the text message to possibly create that wrinkle in time, that change in time.
Yeah.
And so I just find that really interesting, that we have this such a grand, dramatic personality, character, role-playing, but deep down, it's like, he doesn't actually know if he wants to be influencing things that in actuality, like, that is a lot of pressure and a lot of power for an individual to have.
Yeah.
And what if you do the wrong thing? What if you mess up?
Yeah. It's because it makes me love Kiyoma more as a protagonist. Like, the fact that it makes, you're realizing what this means, right? It makes me feel like my main character's smart, and he is smart to worry, and he's smart to be anxious about it. And if you want to if you want to change the world and change it from being a dystopian and you have this power, wouldn't you therefore, if you actually wanted to change it, it would be essential that nobody else would be able to influence it. The second that you let other people have the same power as you, if that's a possibility, it's going to get a lot more complicated. So my thought was like, okay, going forward, if you actually want to change the world, you have to make sure that you're doing so while walking that line of continuing to make sure nobody around you also has the same power. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like,
because you can't have multiple people trying to do it at once.
Yeah.
Or multiple kind of ideas, heads in the kitchen, maybe.
2 cooks in the kitchen, right?
Cooks in the kitchen. Yeah.
And like already, it's interesting how, yeah, he is in control, but at the same time, it's like he's like, there's the potential of him like fighting like himself, and like with. It's so difficult, man. Kiyoma is a great character, and I love him. I am very worried that as the team steps forward with the idea of time travel and trying to do more within that would open up the idea of time travel and communication through time more, which will make this whole thing a lot messier. I am worried that that's going to be the division between Kiyoma and Kurisu. Out of everybody in the room, minus Moeka, because she's still like a question mark, and I love her, but out of everybody in the room, the other person other than Kiyoma who I could see having an idea to further this, this process of time travel, to investigate it more, would be Kurisu. And if more investigations go on and more is unveiled about it, then I'd be concerned at what that would do to the future. Because the second that you're going to have another person involved in what the future should be like, it's inevitable that there's going to be disagreement at some point, and that you're going to have differing opinions of what direction you should go.
I think it's really cool what's happening of giving us this character that has such a grand, dramatic kind of personality and created personality, delusion in Daru's words, that you could be, if you were trying to get really like psychological about it, could just be to keep people at somewhat of a distance away from himself. And then to now actually be forced into somewhat of a reliance on himself and isolation, that he can't necessarily. How much can he rely on the people around him when he's now been given this giant job, and that it kind of seems like maybe it needs to be one person's kind of job and not that he can necessarily rely on his friends now? Yeah.
And they're different friends, technically, right? Like, the second that he sends a text, especially to himself, and he switches the whole, like, world line thing, right? It's he has that knowledge of what has happened in the past. Nobody else does.
There's something that makes you feel like you can never actually truly connect again with that person. If you were to keep doing that, if you were to keep changing things and you were the only one that had a memory of it, I feel like the distance that you would feel between those people you care about would just grow every single time that you change something.
Maybe I'm more like just worried about, like, I feel like I could see like a storm coming, like the ability to have what Kiyoma has is something that I feel like, whether it's the organization or whether it's CERN or whether it's possibly Kurisu, I can see somebody else wanting the ability to retain their memories when time is changed. Because it's almost like you don't have control of your own body, right? Or your own life. You're giving somebody else complete power of like, okay, yeah, you get to have the consistent memory. You could be lying to me. You could, like, change the entire thing and then tell me something else happened, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. I don't know. This show partially drives me insane, and that's why I love it. Question for you. When we had Ruka coming through with the lottery numbers, and there was, like, a number off, do you think that was user error? And do you think Ruka just, like, submitted the wrong numbers? Or did Ruka... was it the time, you know, travel that changed it?
By how apologetic Ruka was, I
like
have to
her,
assume
right?
that it was Ruka's fault. It either that Ruka misunderstood the number or that Ruka wrote it down wrong when applying for the lottery or buying the lottery ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go with that was Ruka's fault.
The time between the two, like, stamps that we got was a little less than 2 hours. I don't know how that would fit in with any of the other previous numbers we've gotten.
No. All I know is 168 hours was how much they went back for the lottery.
We also got an interesting number right after Kiyoma pressed the button that like started this, which was like 0.571015, and I don't know what that is in reference to either. But right after that happened, there was like it looked like he was in a different room. It looked like he had been completely transported somewhere else for half a second. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What's your takeaway here? Is this like the meeting place in between?
The in-between place?
In between world lines? Because it seems like it's like a different room or a different area.
When we pan down, we realize it's not. Then it's almost like that. This is the lab. Except at the time he's not seeing any of the people that are in it.
I don't see the clock in the actual lab.
The lamp is the ceiling lamp is definitely there, but
like we're panning down, ceiling lamp. We have like a statue of the thinker. We have a clock right there,
and then like
boxes. And then we're shot back. The background definitely looks the same.
Maybe his body's blocking what the clock would be.
But there's no boxes either.
No, those were the boxes that were there in front of Daru.
On the left, this looks like his computer. No.
Well, then what's right above that?
Could be anything, but it made me think for a second that this is a great power with how we've described it, right? He can he can have the memories, but I wonder if other world line memories would inevitably bleed through, or he could have glimpses of something that is yet to come. You know?
How is he going to keep everything straight and also not feel like he's going crazy by retaining this information? Is he going to start doing the things that Moeka does? Like when he was typing that really long text message, I almost was asking myself, is he typing a text message to himself? Like when Kurisu was like, who was that for? My first guess was himself, not John Titor. Obviously it makes more sense now because Suzuha brought up John Titor in this episode. But I was like, we get a lot of Moeka, and Moeka keeps a photo diary for herself. So maybe that is something that Okabe might adopt now going forward in order to feel like he knows what has changed and what's going on and is able to actually maybe feel like he has a little bit of control and sanity.
Yeah. Apologies for anybody listening because I've delved into theories craziness, but when this whole scene happened, my first thought was well, not my first thought. Right when we were told that he had been standing there for about 30 seconds, right? I was like, that's too exact. If this show has taught me one thing, that is way too fucking precise, right? So I'm thinking, Anna, what is the next step from text messaging to sending a real person? If you had to make one step, okay, let's go a little further than just a text message, what would it be? Considering all the information we've been given and how often it happens, I assume it'd be a picture.
Oh, okay.
So down the line thinking, my initial takeaway was okay, he did this, and then sometime in the future, he or the group is going to come up with a way to do a very similar thing, but instead of sending a text message back, we are sending a picture or a moment or a video or something more grand.
Like the first episode.
Yeah. And
when we think it might have been a video file or a picture or something that was sent to him.
But that's what I'm wondering, like, because to me, I could be wrong. The room that he is in after he hits the button and has like the whole vision is the same room, but it is different. And I think that if I'm right with that, he could be being shown something that like from the future that could potentially influence his decisions going forward, just like the lottery ticket would have. It'd be a pretty good time that you'd have reference to when to send that back, because you have actual text evidence of the time and date that you sent it. So it'd be a great reference point to go back and alter, or at least interact with, you know?
That's true. And I do like the idea of sending photos instead of text messages. It lends to the first episode. And I think with Moeka's kind of more of an entrance and more of a position in the show. And I did, for a split second in this episode, when they were trying to debate what to write in the text message in order to convince past Okabe to get the lottery ticket, he asks for Moeka's help with how to do this. And right after he asks for her help on this, him and Kurisu get kind of in a little like funny interaction, and Moeka snaps a picture, and he's like, "Oh, don't take a picture of me," or I don't know if Kurisu was there, but I might be mixing a couple of scenes.
When she took the picture, it was like, you guys are having fun.
Yes. And for a split second there, I was like, oh, was that her idea? He asked her, I guess, in a way to be the brains of how to phrase it and what to send.
Yeah.
And I was wondering in that split second, oh, was that her idea, was to send a picture? But
yeah,
that's not what happened.
I love Moeka. Do you think so? She obviously has some infatuation with the IBN, which it could just be that, but makes me suspicious that she knows more about time travel, just like Suzuha does. You know,
I got a little scared at one part in this episode. I think it might have been it's in this scene, I think, when Daru and Okabe are looking at a phone, and they're up close in the front of the shot, and behind them is Moeka, and I was paying attention to like reading the dialogue and paying attention to Daru and Kiyoma Okabe's face, and so I wasn't paying attention much to the background, but you see someone quickly walk by, and for a split second, I was like, oh my gosh, is Moeka stealing the IGN? But it was Mayuri that walked by, so it was just really, I got scared for like a second.
Yeah.
That she was just gonna try to like steal, as they were distracted. She
kind of did the same thing like earlier. Like she was just like, okay, I'm gonna go take it. You weren't responding to my text messages. I said that I wanted
to borrow it.
Yeah. I wrote this down. Am I looking too far into this? Because they have emphasis on a lot of different things in this show. But it seemed like Moeka had like a split second reaction to the like word Christina like being said out loud. Oh no, probably not. Like she raised her eyebrows, but I didn't know if it was because they said the name Christina or if it was because of the content of what, Kiyoma said. But just the idea of so she doesn't wander around. She was like, what?
And then Mayuri gives her a little tour, and she takes all these little pictures around. Very cute.
Yeah. Dr. Pepperian.
Yeah. They need a bigger couch. They need a bigger couch in this lab now that we're getting more lab members.
If they can afford it,
Oh, yeah. I mean, they need to buy a new microwave, so.
Yeah.
They're using a microwave without a door now.
Yeah. So what do you think about the entire, Divergence 1%? True freedom lies beyond it.
I know. Once we get into that sort of thing, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of... Those are some words and some ideas.
Yeah.
I get, I wouldn't necessarily say confused, but as we've said before, there's a lot of big words, big concepts, big ideas. Some of them
it's a lot to try to
super,
digest.
And are already some of these things, like the idea of time travel and changing the past, already, if you try to think about it too hard, can feel like your brain is exploding a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was like, Divergence 1% just sounds like a fancy name for something. Like,
we got like the celebrity 17, right? In reference to Kurisu, even though she's 18, and then Kiyoma shortened it again to Cell 7, and I'm like,
7.
It's just
or
gonna
Cell 7, yeah.
It's gonna be like C7 by the end, like by next episode, and that made me like, okay, are we just like learning to shorten every term or word like we have to be for sending text messages?
So is that what the path is? I remember when we first brought Kurisu into this, and we were like, oh, there's this, they invented a programming language, was the terms that we're using. What if this is slowly showing us that we are creating our own code text language so that we can impart a lot of knowledge within only being able to type a certain amount of characters?
It's like zipping a file, right? Like you're trying to condense a bunch of information into something smaller and more portable so you can transport it over that limited space, which is an interesting concept, and I'm wondering if that's a route that we're ever going to go down with what we're leaning in towards. I don't know.
It would fit Kiyoma's character with how he already talks and is starting to talk, to possibly do something like that. Also, because it keeps his messages a secret.
I feel like it fits Daru's character more. Like he'd come up with it and be like, yeah, like a zip. And then he'd be like, Kurisu, can you say the word unzip? And then he'd like go down that whole route, you know? Oh, the interaction of him like 5D chessing the tsundere like element was so good. That was like one of his best moments so far. Last thing that I have is that I think that Kiyoma has the potential to be like one of my favorite protagonists in an anime that I've seen yet. I really want to see what his reaction and what he does with the information that John Titor just gave him, specifically the term Messiah, because in my mind, I have a way of envisioning what he might do, and that would be like freaking out and being like, no, I don't want to do that, you know, like, and that would be awesome, but I'm really, I need to see what happens next with him.
Yeah, because I think with this episode, we got such a almost, a realization, a reality check for him of like the kind of stuff that he is getting himself into and what that could possibly mean, and who he is involved in his life that could possibly be impacted in this. And, you know, going forward, how will he react actually now with how we've seen him start to react within this episode? I think I'm kind of a question mark on that, because I see a few different things happening. I could see him build back up some amount of like a facade, but, you know, have a little sweat droplet, you know, on his face, and that there be that kind of underlying worry and fear, but he takes on the job and tries to fulfill it. Freaks out, maybe.
I lied. I have two other very small things.
Go ahead.
One, Moeka needs slippers. Kurisu obviously has slippers now. And so does Mayuri. Everybody gets slippers.
Mayuri will totally get Moeka slippers.
She needs slippers. And the other one is that I don't care what it takes, Ruka needs to be a part of the team. Ruka needs to be a lab member. It has to happen. I demand it.
Is it because Ruka is too busy, and that is why Ruka hasn't been invited to be a lab member?
I think that is right and true. And Ruka has his own life that he is trying to pursue, and I respect that. But I would like to see more screen time.
Yeah, agreed.
Need it. Absolutely need it. All right. That's all I have you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.